Welcome to Featured with Three Left Feet. This is where we get the opportunity to talk with creatives and artists working in the northwest of England. My name is Jayran, and I myself am a writer and an actor who's based in the northwest. And I'm very, very excited to be joined with our first guest, the lovely Núria Rovira. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself, actually? I'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Jayran. It's really exciting to be invited here and to be the first one. Yeah, so my name is Núria, and I am an artist based in Morecambe. I recently graduated from Lancaster University, and I'm originally from Spain, and I stayed here. I found a studio space, and I started an artist collective with two other girls who graduated with me, and we founded the Gap Studio, and we make work here in this space. And I work with installation and bio art, which basically means art and biology, and I kind of explore boundaries between art and science.
I know you, Núria, because we went to Lancaster University together. We both did the Leica course. I did theatre and you did art. You've spoke a little bit about it, but how did you find yourself in your line of art, and how would you define yourself as an artist?
That's a tricky one, because I'm not just a painter or someone who draws. It's a bit more tricky to describe. I ended up working in something that I wouldn't have expected when I came to university. I thought I was just going to be painting and stuff like that. But then I kind of just found all of this access to projectors and tech and all of these really exciting people from the university. And my work really became a lot about researching anyway. And it's very much process-based. And I do like to think myself as a researcher in which I explore a topic through different mediums. And then whatever comes out of that research, I present in multimedia installations, and that's like the process I've built. And in the past, this research involves an interaction with a biological medium or something of interest that's has to do with biology. So I've previously worked with silkworms, for example, and that research involved growing silkworms in my studio and getting to know them, I suppose, and studying them. And then from this long process, interaction research kind of thing, I would build these big immersive installations with light and projection, and that was kind of the way, the cycle that my work happens, I suppose.
How come biology? That's what I'm kind of curious in. What drew you to doing that kind of research-based art?
I started working with slime mold was the first thing that I started working with. It was biologically based, because I was looking into system theories and emergent shapes, the shapes that trees take and neurons, and I came across these little fungi that's really easy to grow that takes these shapes. And I was well, I want to just experiment and get to know it personally. And I think I do become really curious about things that are alive. And I do find it very interesting collaborating with something else and having things in my work that are outside of my control, and kind of negotiating with my medium, I suppose, and being in conversation with a non-human entity. And that doesn't have to be necessarily something I grow in my studio. For example, now I'm really thinking about place, and I'm doing work about Morecambe, and I do like to think about Morecambe as a living space and how it's constantly changing, and the uncertainties of that, and me as an artist not having full control, and that's probably what brought me to be interested about working with biology and living media, because it's very much of a discovery, and in a way a collaboration with what I'm studying.
So what kind of stories do you want to tell then, as an artist?
Ooh, that's a big question. When I think about stuff like that, I always circle back to this really simple idea of I want to encourage new ways of noticing, I suppose. I feel there's a lot of unexplored space between disciplines, and that could be art science disciplines or technology and art, and trying to find new ways of noticing things. For example, especially noticing non-human beings and the way our bodies are entangled with nature and other animals, call them, or non-humans or materials. That's quite prominent on the project I did about silkworms. I was thinking about trying to show how we were connected to these silkworms through the material of silk, which we were wearing on our bodies, and thinking about these little things that are there but we just don't notice. So I suppose opening up our perception, but that's a very general thing that a lot of artists would say, so I don't know.
But I think the way that you approach it is very kind of unique. And like it's something that I definitely would never have considered.
I suppose I didn't like make a decision. I kind of like found myself there. Like I would have never guessed I would have ended up here, but I suppose one project led to the other.
You spoke a bit about, you approach art as like a collaborative process. In terms of like other artists and and you spoke again about like, different mediums of art coming together and it being interconnected. Who or maybe what do you want to collaborate with?
I'm very interested in working and collaborating with people that are outside of the art field. I find that very interesting, kind of negotiating disciplines through art, and there's a lot of artists and cool people that I've met who are really great at that. A project that I'm currently working on with the university is kind of about that. It's a commission by Future Places Center, which are these kind of research projects at the university that like studies data of Morecambe, but they're not necessarily related to the art department, but they want to commission artists so they can offer an artist's view to their project, which is something really valuable. I'm interested in collaborating with people like that and sort of like bringing in this art view to the research and allowing kind of like, yeah, opening up each other's perception because of the different ways we work. I like trying to find context outside of art and kind of having conversations and like building project from there. And then obviously the other collaborator would be like the non-human side of it. So that would be whatever is it that I'm studying in my lab studio or like that I'm going, or even working with the places I'm going to and the things that I'm encountering. I like to think about those as also agencies that end up kind of creating whatever happens with the artwork in the end.
You obviously have like quite a connection with like science and biology and like living organisms. Was that an interest of yours before art, or do you see as art, and because we tend to see it as very separated, like just in general, like academically, but do you kind of see it as more, connected, and do you think there is some like, relationship that exists or should it be explored?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is curious how we place them as them being in the very separate places. But I feel like I don't know the way I approach it. I feel like the interest that I find I find the same valuable things in both of them. Just this general curiosity, I suppose, of like trying to understand how things work. Right. I think that's like a very simple way to put my interest in things that are alive and trying to understand something that's other, that's like outside of you. And I feel like that's at the core of like anyone who's a researcher. And I feel like when you're growing something, you're studying, you're creating a painting and like studying, you're like watching it unfold and getting to know it. And that could very easily be compared to you growing something in your lab and exploring it and getting to know it. And it's this, I feel like a lab and a studio are not that different of a place. And it's really exciting to like kind of layer them together and see how they can interact and overlap, I suppose.
And have you found like building that bridge, obviously from your side, have you found it to be an easy process from the other side as well?
Yeah, definitely, I would say so. I mean, it's been really great through the tutors at the university. Jen Southern, she's someone who was my art tutor, and she's really well connected with people from the science side of things who are really keen to speaking to artists. And there was Rod Dillon from Biomed. He was this lecturer working at the university, and he's someone who's really open to speaking to artists who's like collaborated before. So there's definitely like, I think it's like a growing movement by art for sure, on both sides, trying to see how art research can help science grow. And then but like I think every interaction I've had with the science side of thing, it's been quite welcoming, but maybe I've just been lucky to find all the nice people. I don't know.
I mean, it's very comforting to hear, like, and I agree with what you said. Like, I think that's such a, like, I see it as well as kind of like an artistic thing and a creative thing, but it is a very human thing, like this need to understand and to like see things grow, and the kind of feeding our inner curiosity. And that's something that, like, for me, I also studied I was very highly engaged with science when I was in school, and I've gone on to art. But I always found the two related in that way. And when people would say that, like, oh, but they're so different, and I kind of feel the same of like, no, that need to kind of explore is very present in both fields and they
Yeah,
can
for sure.
actually aid one another.
Yeah, I really love the way you said that. That's really beautiful. Yeah, it's like neat to explore. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very like present in your work from what I've been seeing online and as well with like the Gap Studio. I'm curious, like what are you guys doing and what are you kind of planning like to do in the future individually and how does that involve or does it involve work with the Gap Studio as well?
Yeah, it's really exciting about Gap. We jokingly call each other one organism, which is really funny, because we work together and we live together, so we're always involved in each other's lives a lot. And it's really curious because the three of us will work in really different mediums. So you would think our work wouldn't fit together. Like I do digital installation work, Georgina paints, and Kasia draws. That's like really, clear. But somehow everything we've been developing and working on has been feeding each other, and it's everything we've been making lately has had so many points of connection with each other's work, because like we've been sharing the same readings, we've been looking at each other's work, we've been building these group crits, I suppose, and group crits is basically just us talking to each other about our work. And in the end, after this like last 7 months, the artwork that we're making now are really deeply connected with each other. They're still distinct mediums, but which is really exciting because we're going to exhibit them together soon. So yeah, like next month, which is really exciting. And it's just this idea that these works have been growing together in the same space, and in ways we didn't notice, they've been feeding each other, I suppose. So that's like a way in which GAPS works, which is we each develop our individual art practice and help each other grow. And then the other way in which we work is we take commissioned projects together and we program art events. So we want to platform art. That's something that we want to do. So something we've been doing, for example, has been a window exhibition. We have a really big window here at the shopping center, and we've been just started now exhibiting artwork. And we've taken other projects before with Creative West End, which is launching soon. We did this series of drawing workshops that have the form of a zine that we're gonna be distributing, and that's something that we built together as like as a design team, I suppose. So those are like the different ways in which we operate. But we have so many ideas that for the future that COVID will let us do when it lets us do them. It's been really challenging to get started during this time because a lot of the things we would have been doing are just having to wait, I suppose.
Yeah. You guys kind of came, as far as I'm aware, you came together to form the Gap Studio during COVID times. I assume it was challenging, but what was that process like? How was that compared to, this time last year when things weren't how they are now?
Well, I think we were lucky to get this studio thing going just before COVID. So basically, we got to know each other because we were all in the executive team of Up North Arts, which is the art society at the university. We were setting up exhibitions together, basically. And we realized that we work really well together and we were getting things done and it was going really well. So we just had this desire to keep working together. And then Georgina and Kasia, who are the two other Gap ladies, they went to this networking event in Morecambe and they bumped into Shan, who directs the Venus and Cupid Arts Fund, and they had this empty space in the middle of Morecambe that no one was using, and she was open to any artists coming, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it as a studio space, and that's kind of how that happened. And that was in January. So thankfully, when COVID happened, we had already made that contact and we were already kind of planning on moving in July. So it was really hard to keep on with the plan, but because we had each other and we were pulling each other forward, and we were keeping each other accountable, we were able to all move back to Lancaster because obviously we had to move out because of COVID and various reasons. It's been really challenging to start it from zero when the world around you is just so crazy, but I think the key thing is that we've had each other, and I don't think any of us would have been making this much work or putting that much time into our art practice if we weren't surrounded by other artists doing the same thing. So overall, it's been it's been really great to just make the most of like a difficult year by like focusing on putting this together.
It's so good that you like emphasize the importance of like artists supporting each other and like you guys being friends and collaborators. I was wondering what drew you guys to Morecambe and like and Lancaster and I guess the Northwest is general because you're from Spain and you came over to Lancaster and obviously you've decided to stick around. I'm wondering like what drew you to the Northwest and Morecambe in particular?
I think Morecambe's the place to be, you know, is there's things, it's like, it's a very exciting place because it's just starting to take off in a way. I feel like there's so many things bubbling now that are starting to happen in Morecambe as far as the art scene goes. And there's so much creative richness here that you'll be surprised to find this many art collectives and organizations based in Morecambe. And obviously with the Eden Project happening soon, that's also what the excitement is around. That's like a big factor with it. So it just felt like the perfect time to jump into this place that was something was starting to happen and kind of join this like energy, I suppose. But yeah, we all like fell in love with the Northwest when we came here, and we like felt like we wanted to stay, and it just kind of makes sense for us to start our career as emerging artists in a place where we already have connections, because it's something that's been really helpful. Like things that we've done has been thanks to knowing people through university. Like we I also stayed here because I had an internship with Deco Public, which is one of the arts organizations based in Morecambe. So that's like someone that we knew, and then we've like had opportunities through university. So we've just been really welcomed by this Morecambe arts community because there's like a rich arts community and strong network here of artists, but there's not a lot of young artists that would come here in Morecambe. So they're all very excited to see these 3 young girls who are moving here in Morecambe, and they've all just like welcomed us and just taken us into their community and like offered us opportunities, and we've just felt extremely supported. So that's also why it's been great coming here, because we've never felt out of place. We've felt welcome right into this like existing network of artists who are just very excited about having these recent graduate artists just join here in Morecambe. So
do you find there's something kind of special about like art in the Northwest, and I'm guessing Morecambe in particular?
I think Morecambe is just such an inspiring place to be in. Like the beauty of Morecambe Bay, it's like there's so much potential, and I feel like the Eden Project has seen this, so it's coming over, and it just feels like it's waiting for something to happen, isn't it? And especially the 3 of us who are here at the Gap Studio, we all make work that's very much about place and nature, and I feel like Morecambe has all of these things, and if we want to feel connected to things like that, it makes sense to live here rather than in a big city. And it does feel like contemporary art doesn't need to be in a big city. That's something that's like, if you want to be a contemporary artist, you should move to London, you should move to Manchester. But no, like there's a place for art that's like, purely contemporary, but that can find a place more local, I suppose.
From people that I know from Lancaster University who studied fine art or design, the next step is like move to Manchester or move to London. And it's really refreshing to see people actually stay behind, because I'm in Lancaster myself and I see Lancaster as a very like a brewing arts hub, and I see there's a lot of untapped potential which is being realized but put on hold slightly because of COVID. And it's nice to see kind of students, it's almost like a serving, I guess. Like at least I see it as like you're serving yourselves by exploring your creativity, but also enriching the area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does feel like an exchange, or a reciprocal kind of thing, which is great. I mean, I can't speak for myself because I've never like lived in a big city as an artist, but it does feel like there's like so much competition for opportunities, and and in here, it's I don't know, I feel like it's like a different energy. It feels more welcoming. We're hoping to like inspire more young people to move to Morecambe and come over to the studio. Like in this studio space, we have other artists working here. It's not just the 3 of us. There's 2 more artists, and we're all, some of us will move out and move back in, and we hope to like get more people to come to the studio. And like if there's anyone interested in the studio space, like we'll be happy to make room and inspire more people to like find this an inspiring place to make work. And yeah, hopefully in the future, like people keep coming to the studio.
Yeah, that's the dream really. It's just to hopefully inspire others. What
Yeah.
what do you think are like particular issues that are facing emerging artists and young artists at the moment? Our current climate is, I mean, the arts industry has been obviously affected like tremendously by the situation, but also not to get overly political, but I think that has a big impact on our art as well. Do you think like do you think maybe there's a discouragement for young artists, or do you think, and if anything, it's kind of sparked more kind of creativity and more kind of passion?
I mean, I don't think it's ever been easy to be an emerging artist, but I think it's definitely really hard now. It does feel like there's a stepping stone missing from when you graduate and from when you're having solo shows. I feel like there's not, we don't, especially during a degree, that we don't get shown what this big chunk of the journey looks like. What does it mean to like start applying for things, start sourcing for funding, finding a place to make work? How do you keep up with your art practice? Because it's really easy to just graduate, not know what to do, lose the momentum of making work, and then it's really hard, and there's like a lack of like opportunities, I suppose, for people who just got started. And I feel like definitely that hasn't been as much of a problem with us because we've been together and we've been supporting each other. But that's not the case for most people when they graduate. It's really hard to like start this journey of being an emerging artist alone, which is why studio and artist collectives are fantastic, because it's like really it's really good to like support each other and be with other people in this journey, I guess.
Do you think there's a bit of a lack of a transparency of the journey of the actual business of our industry, of the arts industry? Because I think like you said, it is a very I think in normal situations, if you graduated with an arts degree, you'd be like, okay, what's the next step? But even more so with COVID, it's been like, it's a genuine stump. And do you think that maybe people like there's maybe a lack of guidance in terms of like how to go about it?
Definitely, yeah. Like there's a lot of untalked of the reality of it. This reminds me of something we did with Up North Arts and Graft, which is a Lancaster-based collective. We did the Artist Survival Guide, which was about being honest about this, what it means to be an artist and how to start this journey of becoming an artist, and just being really transparent about it. Because like trying to be an artist means that you're gonna be doing a lot of things at the same time. You're not only gonna have a studio and have your shows and your residencies, which is what it may look like when you do your degree. You're gonna have to be juggling multiple things at the same time. So it was really refreshing for this program that we did to invite artists over, and then they were honest and told about their how they were juggling part-time jobs with their art practice and how that worked, and how having a studio sometimes was not a possibility, but there were different ways to make it work. And I feel like we never get this like honest portrayal of what it's actually to be an artist. It probably means that you'll need to have a part-time job to like support your practice, but also try to source funding. I feel like there's no realistic guidance for what that might look like, and then you graduate and then you find yourself kind of just bumping into it and being like, oh, okay, that's actually what it's like. Cool,
yeah, very much so. Yeah. There's a lot of hard work which goes into art, but I think additionally there's a lot of happy accidents that happen, and you're like, oh, this is how it works. Okay, I've learned that now. I'll carry it forward. In that case, then where would you like to see the industry kind of going then in the next like 5 years or so?
Okay, I'm going to say what all of us who work here at GAP believe, which is that the future of art is in artist collectives. For sure, I would like to see more artist collectives coming up and emerging, which is already happening, which is really exciting. And I think the key is for artists to start, creating these little hubs for artists to be part of, and for community to be created, and for them to support each other. and having these artist collectives emerge not only in cities but in local places, so for art to become more local, but like with a global mindset. And how the future of contemporary art, I think it's going to move away from these big museums and these big kind of like more city-based things, and become something that's more about an artist collective, the format of like you make work, you talk to other artists, you create work, and you get kind of this experience of platforming art and making art and talking about art and kind of building a space for it, and kind of making into a possibility of a career path, you know. So I would say artist collectives. I would like for that to be the future.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it should be. Like, it should be just this organic process of you find someone that you connect with, you vibe, and then you make something together, and then it's there and it's art. Again, which is why we've kind of done this, to kind of highlight people and creatives in the Northwest, because there is so much emphasis on London and South, and then global, and not, as you said, an emphasis on making something local, and then just happening to have global connections because of what it is.
Yeah, definitely agree. And that's why it's so exciting to hear from you guys and hear that there's other small organization companies emerging and working with young people, and hearing about other recent graduates like you who are doing stuff like this, and like reaching out and connecting with you guys, because I think that's kind of what we're trying to do now. Like, we just got started like 7 months ago, I suppose, and we're trying to really build our network and get to know other organizations in the area which we could like help each other.
So just to bring this to a bit of a close, is there anything in particular that you'd like to talk about, or anything that you just want to highlight, any projects, or like anything or just in general, anything in particular that you want to say?
I have a lot of exciting things coming up this spring, if you want me to talk about that, like both with the Gap studio. So with Gap, I feel like we've been, throughout autumn and winter, we've been kind of building an identity, learning how this works to be an artist collective, how to like reach the public and all that stuff. And now with the spring and lockdown lifting, we're going to start delivering some exciting stuff. Biggest thing that's going on, we're going to have an exhibition at White Elephant Gallery, which is space that we know because we interned with them back in autumn. They're also great because they really want to help us and offer us a space to work in, and they're just like, they really embody this like energy of wanting to help these young people who came to Morecambe. So we're going to be exhibiting there, which is really exciting. We'll kind of like show the work that developed in this space as it started in its first year. And then we're also going to be showing artwork on our window, the window exhibition, which is open to anyone at the high street, because we live inside of we're inside of a shopping center basically. So we have loads of people walking by our window. So every 3 weeks we'll be changing the work that's on it, and we have like a fun description of it. So that's happening right now. And then we're hoping to do some online events as well with Gap, which are going to be group crit based basically, because we feel that that's what's lacking. So like group crits, it's something we used to do at university all the time. You just show what you're making and get people's opinions and ask the questions you want to ask, and then you kind of helps you develop your work and tells you what to do, right? And people are just generous with each other's opinions, and people just show what their work in progress is. We feel like that's so important as an artist to have that, and as you're making work, and it's something that you have when you're at uni and then you totally lose. So we would like to just create an online space where other emerging artists can get opinions from people on what they're doing, and like kind of like just talk about each other's work in a very casual way. So we're hoping to do that soon. That should be launching this week actually. And so that's that for Gap. And then will be that zine that I talked about earlier, this drawing activity booklet. We're gonna be launching that also this spring. So that's happening because of COVID delayed things. I know that was supposed to be happening in October, this drawing workshop thing, but the lockdowns.
Well, you sound like a very, very busy lady, so
Yeah, we really are right now. Yeah.
Doing so much, and that's so awesome to hear. It genuinely is like inspiring to hear as well, like during this time, making the most of it, and making some really cool work. Thank you, Núria, so much for talking with me. It's genuinely been such a pleasure, and I've always like admired you, and I think you're really just really awesome creative. So it's been honestly an absolute joy talking. I just wanted to give you the chance to maybe share some of your socials so that people can follow you or know how to get in contact with you and reach out.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That makes me so happy, and I feel really lucky that you chose to talk to me, and it's been really great. So yeah, if you want to follow us, I would say probably on Instagram at the Gap Studio. You will get to know things about the other two artists who are part of the Gap Studio, which are also fantastic, Kasia and Georgina. So we're just the.gap.studio on Instagram. That's us. And then if you want to follow me on my art Instagram, I have art_nur.rovira. If you just go to the Gap Studio socials, you'll find all of our social media websites from there. So yeah, and I really recommend following the Gap Studio socials right now because we'll be launching loads of things in the next few weeks. So definitely want to keep an eye on that.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I also highly recommend. They're very, very exciting. And obviously links to Núria and the Gap Studio socials will be on the Feetured blog, which will be posted very shortly. So thank you very much for people who took the time to watch and for joining us. If you yourself are a creative and an artist based in the Northwest and you would like to be featured with Three Left Feet, please reach out to us on our socials or email featured, and that is FEET, featured, at threeleftfeet.co.uk. We'd love to get in contact with you and give you the opportunity to highlight your work and build bridges between artists and really showcase what an amazing potential for art the Northwest has. So thank you very much and take care.